Yeah, that's fine, that's fine, I'm okay with that.
You have the cutting thing? Yeah, I will. I just wanted to-
Yeah.
See if you will.
So you're good with that?
Good evening, this is the September 14th meeting of the zoning board of appeals. First up is appeal number 2016-33, Edward Roth. They sent us a letter asking for an extension. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Whitmire?
Aye.
Ms. Worthington?
Aye.
Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
And I say aye. So give it an extension of 1 year. That's that. Termination on appeal number 2017-47, Hampton Bays Properties, LLC. The special exemption sought by the applicant pursuant to the chapter 301, section 222 is approved in accordance with the written determination which is hereby adopted by this board. The written determination will be available to the town clerk's, or in the town's clerk's office in 2 weeks. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Whitmire?
Aye.
Mrs. Worthington?
Aye.
Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
And I vote aye. There are also some codicils to go along with that, so conditions to go with that, so. But in 2 weeks, you can get all the paperwork. Okay, appeal number 2017-45. Andrew. Thank you very much. I'm from Brooklyn, but I can't pronounce all this stuff.
Get some additional pictures that are nice one.
Thank you.
Posters. Sure. Chair, okay?
That's fine. Just state your name and address. Oh, wait a minute, we have somebody new here. Were you here last time?
I was, but I didn't speak. I'm his partner.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Kindly state your name and your address.
Tracy Shaleski, P.O. Box 674, Quorum, New York, 11726.
You have the floor.
First, I wanted to apologize. You requested that the owner be here, but he couldn't. He doesn't travel at night. And the contractor wasn't available in November. So, you have it. The location of the deck, there's a steep incline to the entire property. It's a 10-foot drop from front to back on Grove Street. So the owner has 2 bedrooms, 2 artificial rooms, I should say, and an artificial bed. So the incline of the property made it very difficult for him to navigate and enjoy it at all. So the location of the deck is right next to the kitchen. It allows him to be able for a ground level deck. Had we would have done things correctly, but he didn't. So here it stands.
So I see on one of the pages, there's a license and a copy of a handicap.
Yes,
Who's the person in the picture on the license?
that's the one.
What's his name?
It's, Sal. Sugamelli. Mr. Sugamelli,
Sugar Mill.
yes.
Okay. And who's Andrew?
Andrew Malganara is the expediter that Mr. Sugamelli had hired.
I
But
see.
Andrew wasn't able to come out this far this season. So he,
Gave it to you.
yes,
That's fine. So the owner of the property that had the work done doesn't drive at night?
yes.
Does he drive during the day?
Yes.
Okay.
Limited.
Did he do the work himself? Or
He
the
did
contractor?
hire somebody.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I have pictures of the construction if you'd like to see that.
Please.
Yeah, I would.
Well, here's the
Dave,
thing.
you right, Fred?
You got the one over there, and look at the land. Yeah, see what, okay.
That's the hole you drove down.
I believe you can see on one of the photos, you can see the dirt line on the foundation, and that kind of shows how significant
Right.
the grading was. And in another photo, you can see, the before work, before the grading was done, as opposed to after. It's still significant at the rear end of the house.
You're not gonna scratch it.
Maybe,
Are there handrails on those steps now?
yes.
Well, I want to know, is there anybody in the audience that wants to speak on this before or after? Or approve, not approve, does anybody disapprove of what was done on this property?
No,
No opposition anywhere?
no.
Okay.
And if even, I think you can also see in the photos that there's significant screens landing between the properties. So it really doesn't even affect the neighborhood that's just at the shared property line.
And this is to clarify to Genji CEO to sell the house, correct?
I believe that he
Or
has
he's
plans
trying
of
to sell
selling
it
it.
and he figured he better straighten it out?
Yeah,
Okay.
he doesn't have a buyer at this time, but he is looking
He's
to move
marketing
to
it.
nicer weather where his bones don't.
Oh, I know all about it. Okay. Well, I've asked all my questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Again, anyone out in the audience have anything to say about this? Roll call, no? Okay. It's your motion.
Appeal, I move that appeal number 1745, Andrew Magliano at 4 Birch Lane, Reading River, for variances to and relief from provisions chapter 301, section 29A, 1C, where the deck is constructed 1 foot from the property line where the minimum required is 20 feet, be granted in accordance with the application and schedules with the amendments thereto, if any, is filed with the building inspector. The written determination will be available at the town clerk within 2 weeks.
Do I hear a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Whitmire?
Aye.
Ms. Worthington?
Aye.
Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
I vote aye. So the appeal has been granted, but
Thank you.
again, we certainly like these things in advance.
I agree.
Okay. Thank you.
Jim?
Pardon me?
We wouldn't have a trial. You want them?
No,
You don't want?
no, we don't fit in the folder.
Yeah, I agree. Have a nice evening.
Thank you. I get killed, you know.
Okay, next we have appeal number 2017-48 for Reynaldo Fuentes, 12 Andrea Court, Riverhead, for variances to and/or relief from the provisions of Chapter 301, Section 12, proposing to construct an addition having a front yard setback of 36 feet where the minimum required is 40 feet, and a rear yard setback of 34 feet where the minimum required is 40 feet.
Mr. Fuentes, we
Hi,
swore you in last time, and
I was here, my name is Robert Ramirez, I am the Expediter representative of Mr. Fuentes. Last time,
we swore you in last time, correct?
right, we started.
Just state your name and your address again.
My name is Robert Ramirez, 92 Bushwick Avenue, Central Islip.
Okay. And then you have the mailings and everything there?
Yes, we got everything.
Would you please bring them up to the clerk? Okay, so now you're on. What do you have? I don't think we took any testimony last time because you
Okay, now we got, we are proposing to one side extension, 1 story, with this front yard setback 36, the required is 40, and the rear setback is 34, and the required is 40 feet. It's just to add 1 story extension, new to dining room and TV room.
It says on the application that you're legalizing the finished basement,
Yes, it's together.
so you're just doing the finished basement, or you're doing in addition to the finished basement?
We are doing the finished basement and the side extension.
Okay. I would assume the building inspector did an inspection on the basement?
Not yet.
Okay.
It's not an apartment, right?
No,
So it's not in the barn?
no.
Does it have does it have bathrooms? Does it have a kitchenette?
Bathroom, yes, but not, no,
No
not yet.
kitchenettes?
No,
No nothing?
no, it's a playroom and family room.
Okay.
Any other board members have any problems? Questions? Anyone out in the audience have anything to say about this appeal? Okay, go on.
He doesn't wanna.
I'm still gonna do it.
You wanna do it?
Yeah, your official reading.
Okay, I move that the appeal number 2017-48 for Ronaldo Fuentes at 12 Andrea Court, Riverhead. For variances and to relief from provisions of Chapter 301, Section 12, proposing to construct an addition having a front yard setback of 36 feet where the minimum required is 40 feet, and a rear yard setback of 34 feet where the minimum required is 40 feet, be granted in accordance with the application and sketches with the amendments thereto and as filed with the building inspector. The written determination will be available with the town clerk within 2 weeks.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Mr. Woodmeyer?
Aye.
Ms. Worthington?
Aye.
Mr. Barnes, and I vote aye. So your appeal has been granted. 2 weeks from now, you get the paperwork from the town clerk. Thanks very much.
Good luck, thank you.
Okay, next we have appeal number 2017-050 for EP Equity Holdings 4 LLC at 582 Edwards Avenue, Calverton, for variances to and/or relief from the provisions of Chapter 301, Section 114, proposing an office use on a parcel where such use is not a specifically permitted principal use.
Did you Good evening, Mr. Cuddy, you have the floor.
Good evening. We could do ours quickly too, but I don't know we can go that fast. We have a site
Good try,
on
Mr. Cuddy.
Edwards Avenue that's 28,000 square feet of office building that we propose to build. The site is industrial A, it's 4 acres. I think that we have also a visual here that you can take a look at so you can see what the building would look like. The interesting thing about industrial A is that when you start from the railroad coming north, and it goes all the way from the railroad to 25, the very first building is an office building. And throughout that whole side of the road on the west side, the east side of the road, there are other office buildings. As you know, Miller Environmental has an office building right near where we want to build our office building. The interesting thing to me about the town code is that in section 301A6, it talks about all industrial uses are permitted in the industrial A zoning use district, but it never defines industrial. If you look at industrial, I think you have to look in the code to find out what it's about. The industrial uses in the code in B and C allow offices. I think that incorporated under Part 6 of the industrial A zone is an office, and I think that the board can make that determination. But I'm assuming that it doesn't make that determination, then I would ask you to consider that in 2011, in July 2011, this board at this site made a determination that a use variance could be granted for both a bank and a pharmacy, both of which would have drive-throughs. I would like to hand up to you both the determination of the board and also the minutes of those meetings going through the entire code and coming up with the conclusion that this is an appropriate site for a bank and a pharmacy. Certainly an office is much less intense than either. So if I could hand those up, I'll just do that.
Sure.
It's the position of the applicant that nothing has changed significantly since that time. Certainly at that point, there was a determination there could be no reasonable return. And I think there's no question that since then, that site hasn't been used. In fact, I would point out to the board that for 50 years, this site has been zoned industrial A. And for 50 years, there's been nothing on the site, which certainly makes it unique and certainly indicates to the board that it can't be used for the way it's zoned. It could be used, of course, for an office, and that's why the applicant is here, because he wants to put an office there. It's going to bring, I think, significant assistance to the town, both employment-wise and tax-wise. Again, this is somewhat unique because it's the one site that hasn't been used for over 50 years. The applicant certainly isn't going to change the character of this area by putting an office there. As you know, FedEx is across the street, which is an office. Miller Environmental is just south of it. It's an office. And so at this site, we believe, based upon your prior determination, based upon the same factors, that this is an appropriate site for an office, and we ask you to approve it that way. And Michael Nardi, who is the principal of EP Holdings, is here, and I think he'd like to say a few words also.
I just have a couple questions, Mr. Cuddy. The application that's before the board today is for an interpretation of the zoning code to interpret the current zoning to allow office as a permitted use?
That's one part of it, yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that's the application.
No, there's there's a use variance application
Okay,
also.
I just want to cut to the use variance
Okay.
application then. The use variance application that was granted, I'm not familiar with that determination in 2011, would be an entire rehearing. We cannot incorporate prior determination without public notice, public input, the same that we've done it 7 years ago. So I don't think the board is going to be in a position to accept prior hearing minutes, determination, and everything else as support for a use variance determination on this application.
I don't understand why I can't put in
You can
the
put it in,
prior.
but I'm just saying, if that's all you're gonna put in, this board, who may or may not be the same board members that were on the
Yes.
board at the time, were not privy to the information that was given at the hearing. You're talking about 7 years of real estate data. In order to get a use variance, you have to determine that all permitted uses are,
No, I understand that.
if
That's,
you don't get a reasonable return on any of the permitted or specially permitted uses, well, certainly that determination in 2011 is completely different information, and in my view, that you would have to make that proof again in
In-
today's market. You can't use proof from 2011 to support a determination today, and that's what you're asking the board to do.
yes, I am, and I'm saying that's the same factors that both of
you
us
have
are
to-
aware of, and I'm saying to you that I think that those factors are present today just as they were then.
That's
And I
what
think
you
they've
think,
changed.
and that's your opinion, and we certainly respect that, and I would fully support your submitting that entire package as support for this application, but I think you would need to supplement that information with current data.
Okay, we can do that. We don't
Okay.
have a problem doing it.
I'm just making sure we're clear on the record about what needs to be done and what you're applying for here today and what your proof is being submitted to the board today.
Okay, and as I said to you, it's in two segments. One is the interpretation, and the second segment is the use variance, if the interpretation isn't accepted. And so we can come back with additional information. But my understanding was different than yours.
Do
and
you
what
want this board to determine yes or no on the interpretation? And then
Certainly.
come back and,
Yes, we
okay.
would like to do that.
Okay. So they're gonna evaluate the hearing, the information provided tonight, just on the interpretation of the zoning code?
Yes, and then we can come back for the use variance.
Okay.
That, if it's necessary.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Mr. Cuddy?
Yeah.
BP Holdings, who are the people that are in the ownership or?
Mr. Nardi is here, and that's why I was going to have him.
Just Mr. Nardi?
Yes. Come up.
If you kindly raise your right hand, Mr. Donati, do you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your name and your address.
Well, my name is Michael Nardi. I live in 22 Berkshire Drive in Sag Harbor, New York. I'm the sole principal, only member of the LLC that owns the property.
Okay. Now, do you own the property, or are you in contract to buy the?
No, I own the property.
You own it, okay.
I have a mortgage on the property, but I own the property.
I'm gonna bang you something in ownership.
Yeah.
Can you tell me, Mr. Nardi, how have you marketed it already? Have you tried, how long have you had it?
Well, we want to be an owner-operator of the property.
So you want it to be your own office building?
Yeah, we looked extensively for land and also office space. We have a lot of unique needs and challenges. We're the 34th largest payments processor in the country. I'm from the Hamptons area. I moved back after college, after starting the business, and we've just grown organically. But it's very difficult to find the space that we need, which is 20 to 30,000 square feet of contiguous space, where we'd be able to have a data center. We have 2 data centers right now with millions of dollars of equipment. We process about 5 transactions every second, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, about $9 billion a year. So we have a lot of unique needs, and we felt that this property specifically was the only thing that could meet our needs.
Nothing down Sag Harbor?
If you know about the traffic situation driving out there, it's quite difficult to get labor. We hire anywhere between 30 and 50 people a year at this point, so we're growing.
Thank you.
How long did you say you had the property?
I think 2 years. About 2 years now.
So since you've owned it, I should assume the prior owners made the application for the social pharmacy,
Yes.
and that just didn't go.
No, I can't speak to their successes, but I don't believe they had much success in that regard. But I approached them, and again, the proximity to 495 for my staff, the proximity or the distance where I need to travel from. I'm the CEO of the company. I come from Sag Harbor every morning, and I drive home every night. So it's a good 40-minute commute each way. It just really was the best option for us.
You're going against the flow.
I am. It's no matter how much how fast I drive, it's still the same 45 minutes or so.
Well, I mean, the only problem I have with it is, I mean, I read the code and I don't see it as a permanent use. So, we have to definitely discuss how I believe Mr. Cuddy's trying to interpret that an office building fits into the zone. And what the intent of the town board was back in 2004 when it was expanded. So, we will have those discussions and we'll let you know what direction we may be heading in.
Excuse me. Is there anyone else to be heard on this matter? Okay, so we're going to adjourn to, please, raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Name is James Miller. I live at 1610 Paradise Point Road, Southold, New York, and I'd like to speak on behalf of the Edwards Avenue Corporation and Miller Estates, two of the adjoining property owners. We believe that the project is well thought out. We think Mr. Nardi runs a clean, professional operation, and he'll be an asset to the community and enhance the overall Calverton area. So we totally support it.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Okay. Yeah, to you, Jay. Okay, well, we're going to adjourn this to the next meeting. All right, so let's adjourn this to the next meeting. We have some questions to be asked. Looked into, to say the least. Okay, let's have an adjournment.
Chairman, I respectfully move 2017-050 be adjourned to September 28th, 2017.
Second. Ms. Worthington?
Aye.
Mr. Barnes? Ms. Whitmire?
Aye.
And I vote aye. See you folks then.
Next, we have appeal number 2017-051 for Larry Sims, 1501 to 1595 West Main Street, Riverhead, for variances to and/or relief from the provisions of Chapter 301, Section 164A, where the proposed uses of office space, restaurant, non-river related retail, and storage/warehousing are not permitted uses in the Riverfront Corridor zoning use district.
Mr. Sims, before you get up, we're going to have Mr. Seaman speak, and then we'll have you come up. Mr. Seaman, if you kindly raise your right hand, you say, swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Please kindly state your name and your address.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jeffrey Seaman, address is 127 Inlet Road, Town of Southampton. I'm the environmental planner for the town of Riverhead, and I'd like to advise the board of several observations I've had during the review of the application that I think you and the applicant should be made aware of. The application was submitted with a short environmental assessment form, so there was a limited opportunity to review it with regard to the secret requirements. However, based on the request for the zoning changes, together with the location and former use as a duck farm, there are some concerns I have with regard to both water quality and soil quality conditions from an environmental standpoint. The application is located in the Wild and Scenic Rivers Act area, so it is jurisdictionally under the control of New York State DEC. They will have input on the uses. It's also got freshwater wetlands incorporated, which were included on a site plan which I received on 8.5 by 11, so it was rather difficult for me to position the proposed building improvements with regard to the location of the wetlands. And also, an application of this type is likely, whether it's determined to be an unlisted action or a type 1 action, I can't yet tell from the information I have. But irrespective of that, I would strongly recommend a coordinated review. The various agencies that are involved include this board, the Town of Riverhead's Planning Board, New York State DEC, Suffolk County Planning Commission, Suffolk County Department of Health, New York State DOT, just to list a few. So I would request that this board instruct the applicant, if you can, to prepare the full environmental assessment form and additional, perhaps narrative information to make it clearer to me for my review, so I might finish up my secret review and recommendations to this board. I also have not enough information yet to determine who might be a lead agency within all of these involved agencies that I've already stated. I'll be available for any questions that you have, or willing to meet and discuss this further with the applicant as this proceeds forward. Thank you.
If you kindly raise your right hand, you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Kindly state your name and your address.
Larry Sims, South Jamesport. I think I should start off by giving you copies of the notices that were posted at the property. Emily said that she wasn't sure, but because of the unusual configuration and the size of the property, she suggested 3 separate signs, one on Forge Road, one at the intersection of Forge and Cromer and West Main, and one further east on West Main Street. So I have photos from Labor Day, September 4th, and from today. I have proof of mailing, and I have the return receipts that have come in. 4 out of 6 owners have responded. 1 came in just this morning, so I imagine the others will trickle in soon. Can I continue?
Sure.
Thank you. I want to thank Mr. Seaman, and I will get to his comments in a minute, but essentially he hasn't told me anything that I don't already know. I was aware of the nature of the property when I bought it. I am aware of the fairly elaborate procedures that are going to be required and the approvals that will be required before I can put a shovel in the ground. 10 years ago, my wife and I bought this old duck farm. We'd already been in Riverhead for a good number of years. We liked the community. We wanted to make an investment. The master plan had recently been implemented, and we saw a chance here to make what we call a gateway property, a chance for people approaching the town along a major artery to actually notice the river. We wanted to put the river in Riverhead. The original plans, of which we have many, basically focused on clustered housing on the north end of the site, with a rather large public park on the south end of the site along the river, 8 acres, with a couple of ponds, one for recreation, one just because it's scenic, nature trails, educational hiking trails, picnic areas and docks along the river for canoes and kayaks, all enjoyed by the public, while we would sell or lease housing on the north side of the property. That was 10 years ago. Now, most of you know I have often been at this podium during these 10 years, and I speak in favor of some appeals, but when it comes to development along West Main Street, I have consistently opposed variances, and I have been consistently unsuccessful. The neighborhood has not changed in the ways that we hoped it would after the master plan implementation. During that period of time, I've also been paying taxes, $200,000 to date, with not a nickel of revenue to show for it. So I don't have an MBA, but I don't need one to know that that's not a good business plan, just to continue paying taxes with no income in sight. I stepped back and decided to change my approach. Now, before submitting an appeal, I looked again at town code, and specifically at one of the principal permitted uses in this zone, which is river-related retail. The interesting thing about that is that river-related retail is nowhere defined in the town code. So I briefly considered opening the Peconic River Snack Bar and the Peconic River Grocery and Peconic River whatever, because clearly those are river-related. They have river in the name. I don't know whether they would be allowed or not, but to me that had the feel of a loophole. It was not attractive, and I also knew that whatever I actually want to build there, there's a long road ahead with the planning board, CAC, ARB, DEC, county health, et cetera. I knew that. So I decided instead to go along with the way the neighborhood has been growing and expanding and apply for a use variance for the same types of businesses that are in this corridor today. That's what I did. I did not seek an area variance. We have plenty of land. I don't think it's necessary. All I want is a use variance. In my application, I argued 3 main points. I don't think, with the possible exception of a small bait shop along West Main, I don't think there have been any new instances of permitted or specially permitted uses in the RFC, the Riverfront Corridor Zone, since the master plan was put in place. Second, my parcel, I have 4 lots, and 3 of the lots are incorporated in this plan. They total about 15.5 acres. It's significantly larger than most other parcels in the neighborhood. It's unique because every other parcel has active pre-existing non-conforming commercial uses. I do not. There's nothing that I can reinstate, reactivate, or expand. All I have is a dead duck farm, which we believe was abandoned more than 30 years ago, which of course speaks to one of Mr. Seaman's points, which is soil and water quality. I'm going to have to prove this, though, to other agencies, not this agency, but the experts that I've consulted say that 30 years gone or more, and the nitrogen and other issues that were left by the duck farm are gone. So it's on me to prove that, and I will, but I don't think it's going to be an issue. The only residential occupancy in the neighborhood, by and large, is trailer parks. They are not permitted in the zone. They would not be allowed today. I could not open a trailer park because of county health code. There's no sewer. Some of you have observed that the idea of substantial residences meeting 2-acre zoning would be laughable in this area. Nobody would buy it. There would be no takers. I agree. So the regular current uses of surrounding properties today are principally industrial or commercial, largely non-residential in nature. We've got the Long Island Railroad propane gas distribution, tractor repair, The auto parts retailing that was just granted a use variance a year ago, building materials retailing, which was just reinstated, I think, 2 years ago, auto repair, etc. I think the uses I propose would blend in perfectly with the character of the neighborhood. So, given a use variance here, I will build these commercial uses still on the north end of the site. And I will still pursue a park, though it's going to be a little bit more challenging on the south end of the site to give to the community, because I think people should be available, should be allowed to access the riverfront. And with your variance, I will begin the massive amount of work required to develop plans that are sufficiently detailed to persuade DEC, the planning department, health department, every agency involved, that this proposal is viable and acceptable. I don't think that it makes any sense at all, given that this is the zoning board of appeals, to do the job of these other agencies and say that the entire secret process needs to be completed before you make a ruling on whether these uses will be allowed. That's the cart before the horse. I think most of you know how many tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars it will take just to go through that process, and how long it will take. I've already been waiting 10 years. Now I want to build something. I think it would be completely unreasonable to ask and expect me to do all that while the question of whether you will allow these uses remains open. That would be crazy. All I want to do here is get your permission to build exactly the kinds of uses that are in the neighborhood now. That's all I want. And if you allow that, then I will go to all these other agencies, starting with DEC, and do everything I need to do to get the approvals to put a shovel in the ground. Just so you know, it's not pie in the sky, I've consulted DEC extensively. They walked the property. They flagged the property. The wetlands boundaries, which I know are hard to read on the paper you've got, are their boundaries. So I'm adhering to all their rules. I didn't come here with this idea until I had an advisory opinion, an informal opinion from DEC that the idea of extending and enlarging the natural berms that are on site is okay. DEC's concern first and foremost is what structures on this property will look like from the river. That trumps everything else. And because they will allow these berms up to 30 feet high from the river, these structures will be concealed. I did that because otherwise I'd come here and it'd just be pie in the sky. I take my obligations for this site very seriously. I will do the things that I have to do, but it would be nuts to spend years and a ton of money going after all these permits without knowing that the uses would be allowed. That's all I need to get started. Thank you. Other questions?
Just a couple questions.
Sure, Don.
So, I hear your point about SECRA, and it makes some sense, but I don't think we asked you to do a complete review prior to making a determination here, but you need to understand that it's a coordinated review because there would be other agencies involved in making the decisions here. So town board would be involved in site planning, and as you're aware. So that's just, I just want to clear that
Sure.
up. That it's not, it's a process, and you're starting the process. And Mr. Seaman is, very familiar with the process, and obviously will work with you in whatever way is necessary to, get to a determination. But the short form EAF wasn't enough, is what he's saying. That's all.
That's what I was asked to submit. That's what I submitted.
That's fine. That's fine.
Just one more thing. No real decisions can be made or binding until the secret process is completed. So if it were to take place that way, that would be challenged as segmentation. So you can't parcel out
Are you telling me that this agency cannot give an opinion that uses are okay contingent on approval by other agencies?
SEQA only permits an interpretation by ZBA to be isolated in sort of a segmented review. If you were to ask for an interpretation, the ZBA would be granted, and then you were to move forward with the rest of the process. That is different than what you're asking, if my understanding here is correct, of this use variance. That's a different zoning decision under SEQA. Simple interpretations are permitted. They could not give you an answer until all these other pieces are understood.
I heard what you said, but I'm,
So,
Would like to go over that, or I can refer you to the handbook that explains that aspect of it.
But I don't think the review that would be coordinated would be necessarily the entire build-out of the project. The
Correct.
review would be just on your application for a use variance. But those other agencies would have some jurisdiction over that determination. So they would be involved agencies potentially, depending on what the long-form EAFs show.
Right, until you give me more information, it's premature for you to go that far to determine whether this application is unlisted or type 1.
and you will make that determination.
Yes?
Okay. I understand what you're saying, but let me rephrase my question. I asked whether the ZBA, without granting a variance, can indicate that a variance would be all right, conditioned on the acceptance of other agencies under a coordinated review.
That is a decision that the chairman,
What do you want to wing?
what we would ask for would be a memorandum at best, even throughout the entire process, is a memorandum of understanding that the ZBA would feel that it would be appropriate, but they could not grant that until SEQA.
I understand the difference.
So
So the SEQA determination of significance is reached.
that makes sense?
I understand it.
Okay. Then I just have a couple more questions.
Sure.
Are you the sole record owner of the property?
I am.
Okay. When you purchased the property, what year was it?
I was not the original purchaser.
Okay,
My wife purchased the property.
okay, and she.
It seemed to make a big difference here which spouse had title, and a power of attorney was not useful for some reason that I don't understand. So instead, to avoid any future problems, because I handle all our real estate, we transferred title to my name
Okay, and when was that?
within the past year.
Okay, so you together, when you purchased the property in 2004, was entitled to her,
I believe it was 2007.
okay, you said 10 years ago, I'm sorry, 2007, 10 years ago, I'm correct. The current zoning, the riverfront corridor zoning was in place on the property at that time, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And I just want to point out that a use variance is a very difficult burden to overcome. So in order to get it, the law requires under Town Law 267B that you provide dollars and cents proof that all of the permitted uses, and especially permitted uses within the zoning district now, don't provide any reasonable rate of return. So while I'm hearing what you're saying, and the board's listening to what you're saying about, and there are very limited uses in this district, obviously, so hence your application, that there would need to be some dollars and cents proof that those uses don't provide any economic return, can't provide any economic return. So that might require the testimony of a real estate broker, or an appraiser, or someone of that, in those professions that could assist the board in evaluating, because you're asserting that you can't sell it for this, or you can't use it for that, or you yourself could even put in proof that says, I marketed it for this many years, and here's my real estate listing, and those types of things. That dollars and cents proof will need to be submitted for the board to be able to approve a use variance.
I understand,
I just
Don.
want to make that clear, so.
I wish you had been sitting in that chair a year ago when I last spoke about a use variance in this zone.
Yeah, and, you know, different attorneys look at things differently, but the law is very, very stringent.
I understand.
And the reason being is because if they grant that use variance, it's in perpetuity. Even if the zoning changes in the future.
I know.
It's still a permitted legal use, not even a non-conforming use. So, in any event, that, I just wanna make sure you understood that. And then I'll let you go on if you want to, and, or if there's any comments about.
I'm done unless there are other questions.
I just have a couple. Why is it that, I know you pay a lot in property tax, why are you allowing those structures to continue to stand when you could easily demolish them and eliminate part of the tax burden and avoid any kind of liability because they're unsafe structures? They're open. You have a problem there. How come that hasn't been dealt with?
Leroy, thank you, but I think I will choose to continue addressing those issues with the buildings department.
Well, I'm a resident as well, and I used to be in the building department. Those structures are unsafe, period. And for your benefit, you should take them down. You get a future use for them, that's what I'm asking. If you have a legitimate future use, no problem. Just board it up and keep it safe. That's all I'm saying. You wanna save more on taxes, as a little.
The structures have been boarded up.
So they're
You know,
not safe?
I really don't want to get into this because it's a very detailed topic, very contentious. I have had town officials trespassing on my property without any attempt to contact me for permission.
I've never went on your property.
I didn't say you did. I said town officials. You know, I was served, I was served with notice in April of violations. And I was told to appear, I'm telling you now, and I was told to appear before the town board, and it was urgent. And you know what? It went away. Nobody seems to care anymore. I did take one of the buildings down because I thought it needed to come down. And somehow, in the 5-6 months since this first came up, the urgency has gone away. I haven't heard a word from anybody. I would be happy to discuss all of this, and I appreciate your concern for reducing my tax burden, but the taxes are half what they were when I bought the place, and I don't think they're gonna come down any further, whether buildings come down or stay up.
Okay, well, I don't know the specifics about what the tax is.
Well, another one of the specifics is that I don't have it with me because I didn't think we'd be discussing this, but I believe it was in 1992 approximately. The town processed papers in the building department that described a half dozen derelict structures. They've been derelict structures all this time, and suddenly, when I am active with the town, including with this agency, suddenly somebody visits the property, which is plainly visible from one of the most heavily traveled roads in town, and all of a sudden these are problems?
Is that the fire marshal?
No, it's the code inspector.
Code enforcement?
Yes. So I will have always been responsible for my properties, and I'll continue to be, and I will deal with those issues with the appropriate agencies. Thank you.
So, when you mentioned the wetlands,
Yes,
they weren't flagged by you or an individual. They were flagged by the DEC?
they were flagged by DEC, correct. Pardon?
When?
I don't think it was in 2007, it might have been 2008, it was not recent.
Well, most likely they'll make you reflag them,
They may.
and they're probably gonna have to do it with a private environmental person. They typically don't do that flagging for a covenant, just passing that on to you.
Thank you.
And I'm not looking at the application, it is within the Wapatinick recreational.
It is.
Area, okay. And did you discuss that with DEC when you met with them? And did you discuss your proposed uses with them when you met?
At the time, we talked principally about housing, but we did talk about some other uses.
Okay.
As I said, it was an informal review.
But you haven't discussed anything in this current application with them?
frankly, I don't want to bother them until I have a use that's going to work.
I'm just asking. Doesn't,
Sure,
it's not determinative, I'm just asking.
understood. Anything else?
All right, let's see, anyone else have anything to say? Please, step up. And if you kindly raise your right hand, do you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
And if you kindly state your name and your address and put that microphone down. There you go.
My name is Barbara Bianco. I live at 83 Forge Road in Riverhead, New York.
Okay.
And I'm one of the people that live in the trailer park that he was just mentioning. I came here today because this is my first time ever in a town hall, to be honest with you. And I came here today because I happened to see one of the signs he did mention, and I'm really concerned because I'm a bit of like an animal person, so I could move away, but I like the fact that the river's right there, that I could see the ducks, I get the swans, deer and everything. And I came here because I was concerned to see exactly what was going to happen with this piece of property, because I do know that it's by the river and everything. And I'm kind of happy to see that it's a long, drawn-out process, and I do feel bad for this gentleman because he does seem to be getting a little bit of a runaround. But I also came here just to see exactly what you wanted to do with the property. And I just had a question. I understand you want to do a park, but now are you going to do industrial or housing? Like, what is your... That's really my only question.
For a long time, I wanted to do housing, all right? And for housing to make sense, to be viable, the neighborhood really had to change in the direction of a riverfront corridor rather than a commercial industrial zone. I now know that's not going to happen. I believe that's not going to happen. I've been watching for a long time. So the only thing that I think can work economically is to build commercial space. You said industrial, I wouldn't call it industrial, maybe light industrial at most. But what I specifically asked for are office space, a restaurant, retail shops, and self-storage, all of which are already happening along this corridor. I just want to build more of the same. Thank you.
As far as the storage space, I think that's, I myself, I think that's ridiculous. As a country, we have too much crap, and that's why this all storage space is everywhere. My main concern is that if we do anything there, or if we can do anything with that property, is that the environment stays safe. As it is, the river gets algae, blooms, fish are dying left and right. When we first moved out here 20 years ago, the river was really dirty. They are starting to clean it up, and it has improved a bit. My main concern is that if something starts to be building there, it's going to get all dirty and nasty again. So I feel bad for him that it is a long, drawn-out process. But again, like I said, I've never come to one of these meetings before. It was very educational for me. And I'm glad that it does take a long time. But at the same time, he's been doing this for 10 years, and he really needs, I think you should give him an answer. And I'm glad the DEC's here, that they do look into it. And I'm just, like I said, I'm just concerned about the environment. So, thank you.
Thanks very much. Anyone else to be heard? Well, certainly, Mr. Sims will try and help you along the way as best we can. If there's anything, any questions you have, we'll certainly try and answer them for you. Jeff is here for you. Dawn's here for you. All right, since nobody else, we're going to move this to next meeting. Is good for you, Mr. Sims? Sure. Okay. That is
28, Mr. Chairman, I respectfully move appeal number 2017-051 to adjourn to September 28, 2017.
Okay, Mr. Barnes? Ms. Worthington? Mr. Whitmire?
Aye.
And I vote aye. So we'll see you on the 28th.
Okay, next we have appeal number 2017-052 for Thomas McCarthy/McCarthy Management, 1377 Pulaski Street, Riverhead, for variances to and/or relief from the provisions of Chapter 301, Section 123, having a proposed front yard setback of 12 feet with a minimum required of 30 feet,
mailings, Mr. McCarthy? Please bring them up. Thank you, by the way, Mr. Seaman. And Mr. both of you. Sure. All right, if you kindly raise your right hand, do you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and your address.
Thomas McCarthy, 46520 Route 48, Southold.
You have the floor. What do you got?
I'm in front of your board, Mr. Chairman, for a variance which is identical to other variances that this board has granted on this site for this property. I have, the variances have expired by their own term, and I'm here for an identical application. I'm having difficulty with some of the infrastructure in on Pulaski Street, which is the reason why I have not been able to move forward to build this building. We're in an area that does not have public water. There are water quality issues. I'm dealing with Suffolk County Health Department, as well as have ongoing conversations with the Riverhead Water District about a main extension in Pulaski Street, of which has not happened, although it is a short distance to the east of us and a short distance to the west of us. The cost of an extension of the water main in the water district would make this project economically infeasible, as well as relocation of a well. We have chlorides in the well due to some external influences on the property, so we're trying to determine what those sources are. And we'd ask your indulgence to reconsider the application as it had been approved in the past and allow us to move forward with Health Department and DEC for the other parts of our application so we can get a building permit.
So this application is identical to the one that was approved back in 2006?
Yes, sir, it is.
You have a couple parcels along there, 'cause I have to look it up, I haven't looked yet. Do you own another parcel to the east of it?
Personally, I do not. I have a brother. I have a brother that owns one to the east.
Okay.
We had made an offer as to the health department, offer for relocation of a well on the adjacent property due to the separation of septic and well in that area. And the former property owner was not amenable to have the well relocated. So we acquired the property, worked with the health department, tried to get the appropriate separations and the appropriate water quality, but the water quality in that particular area suffers from high chlorides from an outside influence on the property, so we're trying to deal with that to get proper water quality so we can move forward.
So before I have to go back to all my old notes, when was the last time this property received a variance?
I believe it expired last year.
And it was a property that we had granted the prior year?
Pardon me?
Back, back away.
We gave you a variance?
Let me pull that up.
You've got an extension on the 2012 and 2013 years.
Thank you, Alex, because I have not.
The appeal was originally granted in 2011.
When? Excuse me, when?
2011.
As well as 2015, I believe.
Well, we gave you the extensions.
Do we give
Yes.
you, so did we give you 3 extensions and then you're out?
I believe so.
So it's like you're doing it over again?
Yes, sir.
That's what you need to do under the code?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So we'd love to be able to move the project forward, however, it's just the constraints that we're not in control of to be able to do that.
Well, I know that we approved it, we went through the previous testimony, and it's just a matter of time with dealing with other municipalities. So I don't have a problem with it, Chairman or Vice Chairman or Provost, that's what I'm talking about. So,
hearing was June 11th and June 25th, 2015.
Well, I want to look at the variance that was granted in 2015. So if you look at that, is it correct or incorrect? Okay, it doesn't say in the survey. Does anybody have the survey? Mr. Parker, do you have on your survey, as part of the relief you're seeking, one of the dimensions is calling for a front yard depth of 11 feet instead of 30. Is it 11 feet or 12 feet?
12 on the plan.
12 on the plan.
So that's what you're seeking. So in the last determination that we did in 2015,
We'd be happy to receive 11, but we'd be okay with 12.
well,
And then this one is
the trade shop.
Warehouse, trade shop in the front, warehouse in the back.
I don't want to think that that has, if there's a lot of dimensions that are incorrect, that are in the letters, so I want to make sure they're accurate. I don't think anybody on this board has a problem.
We just want to make sure the numbers are correct.
Yes,
So
I'm just pulling up the previous
What
documents.
we're going to do, Mr. McCarthy, is you should really make sure, and maybe stop and see Emily, and make sure what you're seeking, and make sure they correspond to your site plan, your setback.
The 12-foot corresponds.
Okay, corresponds with that, but some of our written information refers to as 11 feet, so I want to make sure it's accurate. So when you posted the poster, you made an application, you were denied certain setbacks. So it says proposed front yard 12 feet, side yard setback is 5 feet, is that correct? Without me looking at the file. I have the file.
Yes, it is.
So you're seeking 5 feet from the required 30,
In the side yard, yes.
and the buffer from residential use is 5 feet. 10 feet's required. Is that correct?
I would assume so, and that would be perhaps with the parking lot and not the
Okay.
structure.
But I don't want to assume it. So I want to make sure it's properly written, so I would suggest that you...
Yeah, why don't we do this? Why don't we take a time out? We have no, we can tell you right now, we have no problem with this application.
Thank you.
Let's get the numbers right, see Emily, get them down,
Okay.
and next time around.
Next meeting. You okay with that?
I'd be happy to do that.
Okay, great. Mr.
Okay.
McCarthy. All right. Anyone else to be heard on this matter? Okay, let's have an adjournment to the next meeting.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we hear an appeal 17-52 Thomas McCarthy of management to September 28th.
Second.
Mr. Whitmire.
Aye.
Mrs. Worthington.
Aye.
Mr. Barnes.
Aye.
And I vote aye. So see you next meeting. Just get the numbers straightened out, and I think we're ready.
Happy to do it. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Have a good nice evening.
Thank you.
I said that.
Okay, next we have appeal number 2017-053 for 84 Lumber at 1751 West Main Street in Riverhead for variances to and/or relief from the provisions of Chapter 301, Section 254G1, where the proposed wall sign is not permitted in the Industrial A zoning use district, and Chapter 301, Section 254G3, where internal illumination of a freestanding sign is not permitted.
Mr.
Good
Cuddy.
evening.
Go ahead.
You keep coming back till you get it right this time.
Mr. Cuddy, you're the best.
Let me hand up some things if I may.
Sure. Yes. Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Cuddy, you got it.
This is 84 Lumber that you reinstated the use, the non-conforming use, last year. When you did that, the applicant then put up signs on its building on the basis that it had signs for many years. We went to the ARB. The ARB thought the sign was fine. There's two signs we're talking about. One is the face of the building, simply saying 84 Lumber. The other is a freestanding sign that they wish to illuminate. It's at just before the roadway, that is Route 25. The problem that we had was when I went back from the ARB to the building department, the building inspector said he couldn't find any permits for those signs, even though they had been pre-existing. And what I'd like to show you is the two exhibits that we gave you. One is a statement from 208, which is a property condition statement showing the picture, the 84 Lumber on the sign on the front face of the building. It also shows inside the freestanding sign. Then we go back to 2002, and there was an appraisal done, which again shows both the sign that was there on the face of the building and shows the freestanding sign. As far as I know, from the time the building was built, these signs have been there. They have not had any permits for them. I don't know why, but the building was built more than 20 years ago. And at all times, according to the 84 Lumber people, they've had a sign on the building. So what we're asking for is this board to grant us permission, and I note that it says Industrial A. That was the old zoning. As you know, today it's the Peconic River Corridor Zone, or community zoning. I'll check and see. But all we're asking is that we could reinstate our signs that we thought we had permission to do, but no one can find a permit for them. It certainly doesn't impact the neighborhood, doesn't do anything to virtually anybody, doesn't hurt the environment, and it's not substantial. So I would hope that this board could allow us to keep the signs that we had and to go forward from that point.
Are you saying that that sign's been there the whole time?
As far as they can tell me, I've asked them, I could only get this back to 2002. But it's been there for a long time. It's been there.
It might have been laying in the middle building on the back side.
No, the sign that we show you here, though, was on this building in 2002. There's no question about that.
When they were open.
When they were open, and it was 2008.
We abandoned the site and then we reestablished the use.
That's right.
So by doing that, all bets are off. However, I'm not crazy about illuminating signs. I don't know how these other people feel on the board.
Okay.
Have they looked at other options with the architectural review board? Or do they just want to keep the sign and just put it back up?
They just want the sign that was there before that they put back up, yes.
They just put a sign up again.
They put that sign, I think they put that sign up again. It's the same sign that was there, just exactly.
Looks new.
Oh, no, I don't mean it was the old sign. I mean, it was the same type of sign that was there. I agree.
That's better.
I agree, it's new. It's new.
So they put it up, then they went to the building department.
Then
Get a permit for it and they got denied.
no, what they thought was that they had a right to put the sign up because they had it there before. And they understood when they got reinstated, they could again put the sign up. That's what they were trying to do.
And in the alternative, what did the architecture review board want?
The architecture review board was accepting what we brought them. They didn't have a problem with it. They didn't say that.
And they approved it.
They said it was yes. They said,
You have a copy of the approval.
I don't think they issued a formal approval. I think
I would like to see it.
I can certainly get it. I mean, I think that your secretary here, your clerk here, was present at that time, too.
And they approved it wholeheartedly? No objection?
No,
They didn't care?
They approved it.
they approved it.
Okay.
Approve it.
Okay. All right. You do whatever you want, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody heard on this matter from the audience? Mr. Barnes? Mrs. Worthington?
Aye.
Mrs. Whitmire?
Aye.
And I vote aye, so the appeal has been granted.
Thank you.
Next, we have appeal number 2017-054 for Atlantis Holdings of 4670 Middle Country Road, Calverton, for variances to and/or relief from the provisions of Chapter 301, Section 254H1, proposing an internally illuminated gas station street sign, canopy signs, and all wall signs where internal sign illumination is not permitted with the Industrial B zoning use district.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Keith Brown, Harris Beach, PLLC, 538 Lord Hollow Road, Suite.
Are you an attorney?
I am. 301 Melville,
Off
New
you
York.
go.
11747. I'm here tonight along with Mark Pilata from Pioneer Engineering with respect to 4647 Calverton Realty LLC's application for variance approval in connection with its application to permit internal illuminate gas station price ID, canopy signs, and wall signs where same are not permitted within the Industrial B zoning district. In connection with the owner's planned renovation work to convert an approved repair shop, convenience store, and deli use into a Dunkin' Donuts and convenience store at the existing gas station located at 4670 Middle Country Road in Calverton. The property is located slightly to the east of the intersection of Middle Country Road, Route 25, and Parker Road, Route 25A. It's just to the east of the Grumman Memorial on the north side. As a matter of housekeeping, I have affidavits of posting and proof of mailing,
We'll take those.
along with the other documents we'll be relying upon as part of our presentation. So, by way of context, property is developed with the gasoline station's been operating since at least 1962, with the site being substantially cleared circa 1947. Further, in 2005, the prior gas station was raised, and the existing gas station with the repair shop and convenience store was constructed in accordance with the plans approved by the town board and town planning board. The nearest residence is more than 600 feet from the property. Accordingly, these improvements in sign lighting will not be impacting any neighboring residents. The site layout will remain largely unchanged. Only the area within the existing building will be materially disturbed by the application. In short, the existing repair shop will be discontinued. The repair shop is located in the rear of the building and will be largely replaced by the Dunkin' Donuts use, as well as expanded convenience market offerings. As part of the redevelopment, a rear entrance will be installed in addition to the front entrance that will be maintained. Specifically, with respect to the sign variance relief, the applicant is proposing building facade alterations and new wall signage that were presented to the Architectural Review Board back on June 28th. We're currently awaiting ARB's approval, which is contingent upon its review of the final sign permit applications. It should be noted that the ground sign is the one that we're proposing is the same size and location as that previously approved. New canopy signs are also proposed. Here we note that the Exxon signs are smaller than previously approved Sunoco signs, and the number of canopy signs is actually going to be reduced from 3 to 2 by this application. The only new variance for the ground sign relates to the request for the internal illumination. Here we note that the internal illumination request is substantially similar to those recently approved by this board for the Bola station located at 3705 Middle Country Road in Calverton, and the Atlantis Mart located at 626 West Main Street in Riverhead. As copies of those approvals have been submitted to the clerk. The requested sign lighting is required to make the station visible to motorists on Middle Country Road. The area east and west of the site is densely wooded, and therefore the station is difficult to see until you're on top of it. Respectfully, the internal illumination of the signs is required so that motorists driving on Middle Country Road can adequately see the station, turn on their directional, and slow down to turn into the site. Moreover, granting the variance will not produce an adverse impact on the neighborhood because the LED price sign allows for greater clarity and safety for the motorists to easily identify the gas price from an adequate distance, slow down, and safely enter. The LED's illumination also automatically dims as compared to daytime illumination levels, which will minimize light pollution and keep the sign in harmony with the town's dark sky standards. As you may recall, our office worked on the Bola Calverton site. As part of that application, the ZBA asked us to perform with the applicant a demonstration of how the LED gas price sign auto dimming feature actually worked. We submit that the LED sign proposed here is manufactured by the same company, Everbright, and is equipped with the same auto dimming feature. In your packet, we included a letter from Everbright which describes in detail how the auto dimming feature works. In addition, we've included the approvals for the LED gas ID signage that I previously described. Approval number 14-58 for 3705 Middle Country Road, Calverton, as well as 14-03 for 626 West Main Street. Finally, I just add that the LED gas ID sign has become a staple in the industry, and we would respectfully request your approval of the same. Again, the ground sign will be the same size and in the same location. We're just changing the gas ID portion to have LED lighting. So that concludes my overview. If you'd like to hear, Mark is here and he could answer any questions you may have relative to the variance itself.
You want, you have anything?
No, I'm fine with it.
I don't think any of us have anything. I mean, we granted the other ones as long as the lighting is dimmed during the night. We're big on that.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone else in the audience have anything to say?
Is there anybody in the audience? What I'm talking about.
Okay, let's hear the reading.
Okay. I move that appeal 2017-54, Atlantic Holdings at 4670 Middle Country Road, Calverton, for variances to and relief from provisions of chapter 301, section 254H. Is that a 1 or an I?
It is one, H1.
H1, proposing an internally illuminated gas station, price sign, canopy sign, and all wall signs where internal sign illumination is not permitted within the industrial B zoning use district. Be granted in accordance with the application schedules with the amendments thereto, if any, and filed with the building inspector. A written determination will be available to the town clerk within 2 weeks.
All right, Mrs. Worthington.
Aye.
Mr. Barnes.
Aye.
Mr. Whitmire.
Aye.
And I vote aye. So the appeal has been granted, and 2 weeks from now, off you go.
Great. Thank you very much.
All right, have a good night.
Have a good night.
Excellent. Do I hear a motion to accept the reading, the minutes of the last meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I hear a motion to close the meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Houston and Cincinnati.
How about Cleveland?
Oakland.
Okay.
That's what you're going with?
Okay.
Do you have a long distance to travel, gentlemen?